Wow, what a crowd. What an evening. I'm delighted to be here with everybody, and welcome to the coolest building in Washington, D.C. And actually, the perfect place to bring everybody together and look at all the ways to turn dreams and aspirations into action. That is exactly what USIP is built to do, and it's built to be that space where you can have conversations across all kinds of divides and perspectives and build those bridges and find the way forward. And in fact, U.S. Institute of Peace is itself the result of citizen action. About 40 years ago, citizens from across the country created a movement saying, we need more capacity in our U.S. government to understand how to wage peace as well as we wage war. And they organized and they went to Congress and they were received by a number of members of the Senate and the House who were themselves veterans, primarily of World War II and the Korean War, who were seared by their own battlefield experiences, and they met with the citizens and they agreed with them. And the result is 35 years ago, U.S. Institute of Peace was signed into law. Citizen action matters. And we were founded with this audacious vision of a world without violent conflict. And it's, we operate here on the understanding that there will always be conflict. There will be disagreements. The question is, can you use that conflict to create transformative change? And we have seen in our own country through the last several decades, whether it's the environmental movement, the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the movement for gun safety, for gun control, the new women's movement that's happening, we are transformed as a country every time people come together to resolve conflicts without violence. We sit across the National Mall from the Lincoln Memorial, and we are reminded every day, I see it outside my window, every day what happens to a country, to a community, when you do not have the mechanisms, the skills, the tools for taking conflict and using it for transformation. Instead, it turns violent and it rips you apart, your families, your countries. That is what our mission is to help turn that desire to peace into a very practical set of applications. How to take the research that tells us why peaceful change happens with more effective outcomes, turn it into training, into policy ideas, and work with partners around the world who are working for sustainable peace, particularly in conflict zones. So I often meet people and I say, yeah, well, I'm with the U.S. Institute of Peace. And they look around, they go, well, yeah, so how's that going? They're seeing a world that's torn apart by conflicts all around the place. And, I welcome that question. I welcome the opportunity to say, yes, it is actually going really well, because peace is a process. Peace is not a place that we will end and not have to continue to work at it. Every single day, peace is a process. And I am heartened by the people that I encounter. It's an extraordinary opportunity to be able to do this kind of work, to meet people like you who are doing amazing things, to meet people like Mohammed Jibril, who is a young man from Syria who was on his way to college in Aleppo in 2011 when he had to take a detour and become a refugee in Lebanon. And now, 7 years later, he is a graduate of American University of Beirut, having worked his way as a day laborer, and has created a schooling program where he's educated more than 5,000 Syrian refugees. He was not defeated. He was not defeated by the violence that he met in his life. Or Imam Abuba, who was pulled off a bus in northern Nigeria by Boko Haram. He rolled under the bus, and he escaped being taken away. And in that moment, he dedicated himself to being a force for positive change and has started an organization that's working on de-radicalization of young youth who were taken by Boko Haram and have been released. We every year bring a group of about 30 youth leaders from conflict countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Nigeria, you can recite the names with me, for a dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I mention this because it is as important to have the skills and the tools as it is to have the inner resilience, to understand what it takes to maintain your compass to work on the most difficult issues in environments that are not always conducive to that. So I commend all of you who have come together to realign yourself with each other, to find that community, that family, and find the way that you can continue to do this really critical, important work. And I commend you to a quote that is on the wall as you enter our building, which is one of my favorite quotes. It's from Eleanor Roosevelt, who says, "It is not enough to talk about peace. You have to believe in it. And it is not enough to believe in it, but you have to work at it every day." Our hashtag is Peace is Possible. Peace is very practical. It's about tools, skills, actions every day. Peace is possible. We see it all the time in all kinds of places. Peace is a process. And I commend all of you for the work that you are doing here today. I couldn't be happier that you're here at USIP, infusing our building with your energy and your dreams and your ideas. Have a wonderful NEXUS event. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jordan.